Hey guys, Tom Davidson back with the board. I've got Landon Hutchison here, works with us, Steve Goody from Pocket Radar, Nelson Gord from NCSA, and today we've got Cory Wade, professional scout. He's a Division one or two baseball player growing up,
Two.
D2. He's from Indianapolis, where I'm at, and then he went on to play professional baseball. And I want to welcome him here because we've got some questions today on the recruiting side of things and kind of how the video aspect is coming into play, especially at a time like this. And I kind of want to let Landon lay out some of the questions just to kick things off, and we'll go from there.
So the first question we got for you, Cory, is when you're looking at guys, how many times do you physically want to see them before you feel confident in their abilities, before you're willing to sign a contract with them or things of that nature?
A lot of those guys, and I'm kind of getting this passed down from some of the amateur guys. I mean, they really like seeing them as much as possible. I mean, whatever that number is. For myself on the pro side, I'm usually like seeing the hitters for probably 20 at bats at minimum. I won't even make a call on my end until like day 3 or day 4 of those guys, and kind of the same thing with the pitchers. I mean, because I'll see them earlier in the year, then I'll try to see them later in the year to see how they've progressed, if they've regressed, if they're staying the same. Just kind of, that's the reason why I like seeing them early. And if I can, the players that I felt like I liked, to go back and see them later. But I would probably say, really, before I make a call, I'm going to say at least probably 20 to 25 at bats before I ever make any kind of realistic call. And that might vary really with when you're talking about the amateur players, because you want to obviously see them against better competition.
How do you feel from the video standpoint, how that can maybe help expedite that a little bit? Do you get a little more analysis from a video standpoint than you would from actual live game footage, or what?
At times, yeah. I like using the video if I'm going back and trying to, I guess, verify something one way or the other, whatever it may be. Does he have like a funky hitch? Is there something odd that I might have missed the game? And I'll go back and use that. I try not to use like all video for specifically making a call on guy, unless basically you have to do that. There's times obviously you have to make that call, but I like using the video in conjunction with what I see with my eyes, just because, like, especially like catchers, like I feel like catching is actually easier to see on video than behind, just because they're obviously, you're seeing their back all the time. So that one for me, as far as, you could probably ask any pro scout, they're probably going to tell you catching is probably one of the hardest things to scout from our perspective, because we're usually a lot of times behind home plate. But I try to use that video basically, as a verification of what I'm seeing with my eyes, because there's just a lot you miss on video. And again, but there's times you have to use it. But just back there, you're not seeing how the outfielders might be moving, how the shortstop might be moving on video. You're only seeing like one aspect of it. So, you try not to use video if you don't have to, just exclusively video anyways.
Yeah, and we've kind of put this virtual showcase piece out there for these guys that, with the Division One being shut down till the end of July, Division Two's on a quiet period for all that. We wanted to get some sort of video opportunity for these guys just to get that little taste out there, because I think it is intriguing for them to be able to say, hey, especially some of these guys with some live arms and things like that, get the video out there so they have something to look at. And then,
Excuse me.
Bless you. And then that verifiable piece that you're talking about, you can use the video to kind of, tune in on certain aspects of a player and go from there. But, certainly nothing like live games going on for sure.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be time, especially like with this situation right now. I mean, obviously, you have to adjust. It's harder to get the players because you can't fly and see them, and you just, at times you just have to, you have to use the video aspect. And again, something like this, where some of these college leagues might not be going on, some of the travel ball is not really going on. So if there's, the one thing that we do have is video. So if there's any way, like, again, you got to use something, and video is still a good way to do it, especially in these times. And there's times that you can get a pretty good call. You can see the pitcher stuff. You can break down the mechanics a lot easier if there's, because when you're seeing it live, and that's a lot of times where I'll use the video also, is after I've watched him pitch, I'll go back and like kind of break down the mechanics. If there's certain things that he could do, or like somebody on our staff got a hold of him, you might be able to see a jumper, a spike in his velo, his stuff, whatever it may be that you might see. But it does give you a really good aspect. And now with Rapsodo and those things, you can put everything together and you can build a clearer picture. And that's the advantage I think a lot of these college guys have now, is that if a coach doesn't have time because there's so many players that they can't get their eyes on them or has somebody on their staff see them, you can use the Rapsodo because you can get those Rapsodo reports and use that in conjunction with the video. So then you can get a better call on exactly what it is. So I think the kids now are in a much better position than like what you and I were when we were playing, because guys just fall through the cracks because nobody could see you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're going off of what you just said right there, real quick. Nelson, go ahead and ask your question, and then I can go from there.
Yeah, I was just looking at it the other way. Has there been instances where seeing video on a guy, whether it's on social media, something sent directly to you, has intrigued you to the point where you've had to go out and see them, or you wanted to follow up with them based off, a short clip, what you heard, something along those lines?
Yeah, there's actually been a few. We actually signed one of them. You remember Robert Stock? He was actually a catcher out of USC, and he had gotten released, and he started releasing these videos on YouTube, and he was throwing like 99. And so that's how we ended up signing him. He actually got some big league time with us too. And he's with, I can't remember who he's with now. He's not with us anymore, but there was him and actually another kid out of Lexington who was the same thing. They had posted some videos, and we were going to actually see Robbie Ray, but he had been posting videos, and I went and go check the guy out. And it was the same thing. The guy was like 95 to 99 in bullpens inside. It's like, you got to go see the guy. So I went out to Lexington to go see him throw, but there are times where you see those videos go up, and there's things you're definitely going to be intrigued by that you at least have to do your due diligence and go see, whether you end up signing or not. But you got to go watch him. Like, you're going to get fired if you don't go see some guy throwing 97. Like, you got to go see him. So it definitely helps.
Yeah, we've kind of touched on this a little bit, Cory, and you brought it up a little bit with spin rate using Rapsodo data and stuff like that. It seems like baseball is going, a lot towards the tech side. Is there something that that could actually improve a player's draft stock, or you just wanting him in general just because you know that the kid has 2,900 spin rate curveball, or something along those lines? Could that be the deciding factor between a couple guys as well? Or is there something that, even just having a video of him actually physically having a radar with the gun in it as well,
Mm-hmm.
are those things that you take into consideration too?
Yeah, like you're starting to see it more and more. The Pirates specifically, I've noticed just watching, because I cover them during the year and I've had them for a few years, and they almost drafted, especially more later in the draft, mid to like later rounds, they'll draft college guys based solely on that if they have really high spin rates and they have pretty good velo, they figured if we can get something out of it, tweak maybe this or that and get them around the zone more, that it might be able to play. So there are a lot of guys that are starting to get picked up because of it. I mean, it's also tougher for them just because, especially on the pro side, there's a lot of the separator isn't always the stuff, it's the middle part. So that's always, as far as the pro side goes, that's the big separator between the two is the mental approach. Are these guys gym rats? Do they really love the game? Like little things like that, they're going to be able to fully reach their potential on whatever that 2,900 is. Are they willing to make adjustments? So that I try to separate the two at times, but there are guys that are in the system solely based on numbers to some degree, really.
Steve, do you have any questions on that as far as the numbers go, things that you've seen?
Well, everybody's been talking about this guy, Luke Little, and he showed up using a Smart Coach radar of ours, that video clip where he's throwing 102, 105. I'm sure he's going to go early in the draft here, probably. But he was doing a workout in a warehouse, with the Smart Coach videos from our product being put up on social by his coach, I think. And so like you're saying, Cory, it's not the story, but it's sometimes given a door opener. We're finding we get a lot of input from athletes and coaches and teams, and we're hearing lots of stories where somebody, a door opened because of a clip that they posted on Flat Ground or themselves, and someone gets intrigued that someone that wouldn't have been seen at all. So, we look at the more I can do the technology like that, and we can do things that are affordable and accurate, the better it is to empower people to sort of open those doors that may not be open. It's obviously not the whole story. Like you said, you got to go see the guy. There's mental aspects that are far transcend numbers. Together, it's a powerful combo. And I think it's democratizing access to being seen now. We hear the stories a lot about this democratization of being seen only because of some of this portable tech, that people, in fact, there's just a story by Joe Lemire about that in a series he just published today. I think it was pretty cool.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I don't think there's any doubt that you're seeing less guys fall through the cracks because of this access that you have to being able to see, whether it be Instagram, YouTube, it doesn't matter. I mean, there's so many different platforms that, most of the kids are using, I don't know, Twitch or whatever else those guys use to get access to, for them to be seen. And it has opened a whole lot of avenues for these guys, just like you said, get their foot in the door and make an adjustment, and you never know what's going to happen.
So Corey, maybe I can ask you a quick question. I mean, we're going to continue to innovate. We're in this for the long haul, and you're obviously familiar with the brand. We pride ourselves on having an affordable, accurate radar gun. And for the future, if we were going to innovate further, what kinds of things could tech do to help you in your job in the future to see kids from the backyard or from their team in high school or wherever?
I've never really thought about it too much. That's a really good question. It's going to be tough to answer on the spot, but if I'm just looking at video, a lot of the things that I wish you can get is also, I think at times I don't know if there's enough slow-mo, if that makes sense, because I like seeing some of the grips, their hands. It makes it easier to break down the videos. Like if you had like a slow motion in a just a regular speed, because just at times you're getting like these little short, 1 second clips of guys throwing, and it's hard to like slow it down and break it down. And something like that will make that significantly easier, so you can break down those mechanics at times. And I'm speaking more in the perspective of just pitchers. But something like that, I think, would be like a huge help to guys to be able to see that, because you don't always get that. There's some guys that do it, but I don't know if there's enough at times to give you both the slow-mo and all those things put together.
On the tech side,
I appreciate you saying that, because
how feasible? Hey, Steve, how feasible on the tech side is it to get to that? Essentially that high res situation. How difficult is that to nail in? Is it really the device you're using? We've all got iPhones and Androids. Does it come down to that, or is there something else involved?
Yeah, it comes down to a couple of things. The quality of the camera is obviously number one, and then how it's integrated in the software, like we did with the Smart Coach. Coincidentally, we're about to launch this MSM system that helps MLB teams with Edgertronic cameras. You guys are all using these Edgertronic multi-thousand frame rate cameras for pitch design, and some of the teams are starting to consider. In fact, this week, next week, maybe we're going to be putting it up for sale. It's a derivative of our technology that triggers the Edgertronic. It's sort of like the Smart Coach product on steroids, where you can do like a 5,000 frame per second video clip for 1 second of a pitcher from behind, and seeing all the stuff you do for pitch design triggered by a variation on our radar. So I think more of that's going to come. And the big league teams I was talking to, some of them are really intrigued with deploying those out in the field now, and starting to use it under certain circumstances to capture some of the things Cory is referring to, some of the more, extra things you can't see, to your point, Tom, about, okay, what does that release look like? As he releases the ball, what kind of spin does he put on it with spin action? It's a quick and dirty way. If you don't have a Rapsodo, if you have a high-speed camera and you got a good eye and an accurate radar velocity, a scout can see the spin off the hand of the pitcher in high speed, and actually deduce almost the whole pitch from it, especially when you see the trajectory afterwards and see what happens. And I have a lot of scouts I've talked to say they can just look at a slow-mo video clip with accurate velocity and almost be like a Rapsodo themselves, sort of, watching trajectories, seeing spin release rates and axis.
Yeah, it's funny. I was almost gonna mention the Edgertronic, but I know the cameras are pretty pricey, and I didn't know how feasible it was. But I guess the longer the technology is around, the cheaper it's gonna be. If it's gonna end up being something where it's gonna be across the board, it's definitely gonna make it significantly easier. If you're able to couple Rapsodo with video and have the slow-mo Edgertronic, it's gonna make it significantly easier to find the guys that you need to find and make just a more accurate call with whatever side it is. That's gonna be awesome. I didn't know teams are starting to try to put that into the lower levels.
Yeah, it's expensive to do, like you said, but I watch cell phone technology, and we're all going to be shocked. In a couple of years, your average iPhone is going to do probably well over 1,000 frames per second. And you're as a scout, you pull that thing out, and you're going to have like Edgertronic quality, not quite there, but you're going to have enough quality in slow mo that you'll be able to talk about what that ball looks like out of the hand, exactly what it's doing and how he's spinning it, and it's going to be pretty cool on your cell phone. And if we do the right things, we'll couple our radar systems to that too, so you can have an affordable device in your pocket. Work with some, killer iPhone 14 or something, and next thing you know, you're armed with stuff you never thought you could use. It's going to be pretty cool.
iPhone awesome. XYZ.
Yeah. Oh God, how much is that thing going to cost?
Or one of the last things I wanted to bring up and kind of touch on a little bit is just how baseball announced that we're cutting down to five rounds, things of that nature. How do you think that's going to affect baseball in the long term across everywhere? It's a very broad question. It's just kind of your opinion. And then also, like, how do you think it's going to affect the actual 5 rounds of those kids being drafted? Do you think it's going to be more high school kids, JUCO? Like, what do you think that they're going to put more emphasis on?
It's a little scary because I'm hoping that this doesn't obviously stick around this year. It's going to be different because you're going to have a lot of these guys that are already in the systems. It's going to hurt them not playing this year, especially like say those guys were hurt last year, then they didn't play this year. These guys have lost out on 2 years of development, and then you're only bringing in 5 rounds worth of players. You're not bringing in that many players, so it's going to be really. I'm really interested to see where it's going to end up going. It's a little bit of a concern just as far as how many guys are going to fall through the cracks. And then there's those guys that aren't drafted, those other, how many of our guys aren't going to get drafted after the 5th round? Like, where are they going to go play to maybe go back into it the next year? Is there going to be games again next year? Like those little questions that I think kind of sometimes I don't think people think about all the time is a little worrisome about what it's going to end up doing to the long haul, because there's going to be so many guys that are going to fall through the cracks when you're talking about just taking 5 rounds worth of guys when there's typically 50. So it's going to be really interesting to see how it goes. But I think you're going to end up getting pretty good players. I mean, it's going to filter out. There's not going to be a whole lot of middle guys that are going to be taken. It's going to be all the higher end players. So that's going to help some. And if I had to make any kind of prediction, my guess is it's probably going to be mostly I would probably see guys that are going to be mostly high-end college guys that can make immediate impact, that aren't going to have to go through, aren't typically going to spend quote unquote more time in the minor leagues, that are going to be ready to help out sooner rather than later. So it's going to be really interesting to see how they do it, because it's so different from the previous years.
Yeah, I think too that our sport is extremely different compared to other sports, especially at the professional level, where the younger players and athletes that are coming up almost have more of an impact than some of the guys that have been around more. Now, when you get to the postseason, obviously that experience matters, but as far as like all the hype and things like that, when guys start, hitting 50 bombs and 55 bombs in a season as rookies, that never happens, so it's been really good for the sport. So having this happen could hurt the league, but then also too, it's, just the depth side of it as well. Like you don't see too many seasoned vets doing the things that the youth part is.
Yeah. It's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be tough to say what side of the fence it's gonna end up falling, but there's not gonna be a whole lot of lower rung players in there. So I mean, the guys that are gonna get picked, how many ever guys are with 200 or whatever it is, they're gonna be good players. I don't think there's any doubt about that. But it's gonna be kind of fun to watch. I'm gonna watch the draft a little more closely this year than I have in the past, just because it's going to be really interesting to see the approach and how different it's going to be from organization to organization on how they're going to do this draft.
You were a 10th round pick, so that like think about guys like you who are not going to get that opportunity. You're going to be forced to the decision to take 20 grand and kind of grind it out in a different way, because they're all in one bucket then. So I think that's the thing, that there's so many guys, so many stories, like your own, that who knows what's going to happen with those players. So
yeah, I feel bad for them. It's just it's a tough time for really everybody in the league with them doing that. So hopefully they can make up some ground back next year. But I mean, if these teams end up cutting these minor league organizations like they're talking, I don't know which way it's going to go. I'm hoping that it doesn't end up happening, because I would like to see more players in, just because there's guys like myself included that would really fall through the cracks on getting there, because I was on the slow track, then went to the fast track to get to the big leagues. And it's a kind of a scary thought for some of these guys that if they put in the work or end up having the chance, that might not ever get that chance to do it.
Yep. All right, Cory, man, appreciate you coming on with us. Don't want to take any more time. I know you got to get to your next tee time. So thanks for coming on. I'll stay in touch and we'll get out there and play soon.
All right, no doubt, man. Appreciate the call, guys.
All right, see ya.